Imagine you come home tonight, exhausted after 10 hours of work. You open the fridge, grab the food you bought, sit on the couch you paid for. But before you take the first bite, a man in a grey suit, who has been sitting in the dark corner of your living room doing nothing all day, stands up. He takes your plate. He scrapes 45% of your food onto his plate. He eats it right in front of you, wipes his mouth with your napkin, and sits back down in the dark, waiting for tomorrow. You would call the police. You would say you are being robbed. But in Canada, we don't call the police. We call this man government. And we accept his presence with a terrifying passivity. There is a date on the Canadian calendar called Tax Freedom Day. In 2026, for the average Canadian family, this date falls in mid-June. That means every hour you worked, every stressful meeting you endured, every freezing morning you faced from January 1st until mid-June, was exclusively to pay the government. You only started earning money for your own family in the second half of the year. The Canadian tax system isn't just expensive. It is architecturally designed to keep the salaried employee, the famous T4 employee, trapped on the hamster wheel. If you think the solution to your life is getting a raise, you haven't understood the math of the game. Today, we are going to dissect the tax code. I will show you why the system punishes work and rewards capital, and how you can legally switch sides. Welcome to episode 3 of Financial Survival. The progressive trap: the faster you run, the more tired you get. Most people don't understand how tax brackets work. You hear at work, "I don't want to work overtime, or I'll jump a bracket and earn less money." That is a myth. You never earn less total money by getting a raise. The system is marginal. But the truth is almost as bad as the myth. In Canada, we have a progressive tax system. This sounds fair in theory. Those who earn more pay more. But in practice, this destroys the social mobility of the middle class. Let's look at the 2026 numbers. If you earn $50,000, your average rate is low. You live tight, but the government doesn't bite you that hard. But let's say you hustle. You study at night. You get a promotion to $110,000. Did you double your value to society? Maybe. But did you double your net salary? Never. Starting at $100,000 or $110,000, depending on the province, especially Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia, the combined marginal rate starts hitting 43%, 45%, reaching over 53% at the top. Think about that. When you are at the peak of your career, the government becomes your majority partner. For every extra dollar you produce with your sweat, you keep 47 cents and the government keeps 53. The incentive to work harder dies. That is why so many doctors, engineers, and IT professionals in Canada cut back their working hours. They did the math. It's not worth working Fridays for the government. If you are a T4 employee, you are the easiest prey in the zoo. The tax is taken at the source. You don't even see the money. You have no defense. The invisible taxes, death by 1,000 cuts. If it were just income tax, maybe it would be bearable. But Canada is a master in the art of layered taxation. You receive your net salary, already taxed at 40%. Then you go buy gas to get to work. In the price of gas, there is the carbon tax, the federal excise tax, the provincial tax, and the HST on top of all that. It is tax on tax. You go buy a beer on the weekend. Alcohol tax. You pay the hydro bill. HST. You buy a house. Land transfer tax and annual property tax. When you add it all up, direct and indirect taxes, the average Canadian family doesn't pay 40%. They hand over about 55% to 60% of their economic productivity to the state. You are a modern feudal serf who keeps 40% of the harvest. And what do you get in return? 12-hour waits in the ER, pothole-ridden roads, a public transit system in perpetual crisis? The moral question here isn't should we pay taxes. Yes, we need schools and hospitals. The question is efficiency. You are paying 5-star hotel prices for roadside motel service. The RRSP illusion, kicking the can. But I use the RRSP to lower my taxes. Be careful. The RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plan, is the most misunderstood tool in Canada. The bank manager sells you the RRSP as tax savings. It is not savings. It is deferral. When you put $10,000 into an RRSP, the government returns the tax on that amount for this year. You get a refund check for $3,000 or $4,000. You feel like a genius. You spend that money on a new TV. Fatal error. The government didn't give you that money. They loaned it to you. The government is a partner who said, "Okay, don't pay me now. Pay me when you are 65. But there is a detail. When you withdraw that money at 65, it will be taxed as ordinary income. If the government raises taxes in the future, which is likely, given the country's debt, you might end up paying more tax in retirement than you would pay today. The RRSP is a powerful tool if you reinvest the refund. If you use the refund to travel, you have created a fiscal time bomb. For most young immigrants and middle-class people, the TFSA, tax-free savings account, is mathematically superior. In the TFSA, you pay the tax today, but never pay anything again. The profit is yours. The government loses its partner rights. Between being taxed on the seed, TFSA, or the harvest, RRSP, choose to protect the harvest if you believe you will get rich. The red pill, T4 versus corporation. Here is the secret that separates the rich from the middle class. The fundamental difference in the tax equation. The employee, T4, earns money, pays tax at source, spends what's left. The business, corporation, a sole proprietorship, earns money, spends money, operating expenses, pays tax on what's left. Did you notice the inversion? The business spends before paying tax. The employee spends after. This small change in the order of operations completely alters the result. If you need a car, a cell phone, and a computer to live, as an employee, you buy this with after-tax money. As a business owner, if these items are essential to the business, they are tax deductible. The government subsidizes your cost of living if it is converted into an operating cost. I'm not saying you should quit your job tomorrow. I'm saying you should start a side hustle. It could be consulting, design, Uber, selling products online. The moment you register a sole proprietorship or open a business, you gain access to a new layer of the tax code. Part of your internet, part of your rent, home office, part of your car usage. All of this can, legally, reduce your taxable income. The Canadian system hates employees, but loves small business owners. Play the game the system wants you to play. The Smith Maneuver, advanced level. For those who already own a home in Canada, there is a nuclear weapon against taxes called the Smith Maneuver. This is an advanced concept, so pay attention. In Canada, unlike the US, your mortgage interest is not deductible. You pay interest with clean, after-tax money. It is painful, but interest on loans for investment is deductible. The Smith Maneuver consists of slowly converting your mortgage, bad debt, into an investment line of credit, good debt. You pay down the house, take that cleared space in the HELOC, home equity line of credit, and invest in dividend-paying stocks or ETFs. Now, the interest on that debt becomes a tax deduction. You receive a check from the government every year for having debt. The rich have been doing this for decades. The middle class is afraid to do it because the bank manager doesn't explain it, or because it requires extreme financial discipline. Do not try this alone without a specialized accountant, but know that it exists. While you try to save on coffee, your rich neighbor is making the government pay half the interest on his house. Choose your side. There is a thick line between tax evasion, lying, hiding money, illegal, and tax avoidance, using the law to pay the minimum possible. Evasion leads to jail. Avoidance leads to wealth. American Judge Learned Hand once wrote, "Nobody owes any public duty to pay more than the law demands. Taxes are enforced exactions, not voluntary contributions." Do not feel guilty for using the TFSA. Do not feel guilty for deducting your home office expenses. Do not feel guilty for opening a company to optimize your income. The government feels no guilt when it wastes your money on inefficient bureaucracy. You have a moral duty to protect your family's assets. Canada is a wonderful country, but it is an expensive country. If you aren't smart with taxes, you will be an excellent citizen, but a poor citizen. Now, look at your financial life. Are you going to keep accepting the silent partner at your dinner table every night? Or are you going to start putting locks on the door? If you want to learn how to survive in this system, this channel is your weapon. Most people will close this video and go back to complaining. But you are still here. Subscribe now. Be part of the minority that understands the game. Knowledge is the only rebellion that actually works. I'll see you in the comments.